All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matt, and we are talking about decorating tips and tricks right now. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've been a children's pastor for 25 years and have been an amateur set builder for all of those years as well. It's kind of how I learned how to fix stuff. I've told this story before. I had my grandfather who lived next door, super godly man, the handiest man on the planet, built my house that I grew up in and all that stuff. I didn't learn anything from him as a child. Not his fault, completely all mine, but I learned how to fix stuff by doing VBS, and I get really excited to share some tips, some tricks. I love to make things a little bit easier, more efficient. And I hope that during this time, I give you a little bit of inspiration, a ton of ideas, and pick and choose what's best for you. God has gifted your people, your church, in a unique way that every other church doesn't have that same mix of people or the same skills or the same opportunities or the same connections. And so utilize your people and skills and talents and the things that God has given you in order to just share the gospel. And what I really love to see is when we do with excellence for the Lord, it attracts people. So do everything you do with excellence. We're serving the King, and we should do it with excellence. And so we like to bring excellence into our teaching, obviously, into our activities, into our decorations. And so we're going to talk about a few of those things. So we're going to start off here we're going to start with our hallways. So our church, we do 3 different hallways every year. And you may not have 3 hallways. You may pick one of these ideas or 2 of these ideas. And it's kind of always fun to see the creativity that our hallway decorating teams come up with every year. This year I thought it was really cool. If you've seen these presentations before, we always designate one of our hallways, that's where our older kids is, that's kind of our black light hallway. We'll get to that one last, but our 2 other hallways are areas where our kids walk down to the younger to primary, so pre-primary and primary, it's their hallways that they walk through. And so one of them was our Rising of the Sun hallway, and our other one was our Setting of the Sun hallway to go along with our theme verse. So we're going to start here with our Rising of the Sun hallway. So this looked like a sunrise. We covered our walls with some tablecloth material that made it look like a sunrise. So we used, some pinks and some oranges and some yellows throughout this hallway. We love to use the clip art. We love incorporating the animal pals as much as we can. So we print these on paper and mount them on cardboard using double-sided carpet tape is what we found uses the best for mounting to cardboard and then attaching them to wood. We also made a lot of other decorations here. And just really simply, we made these sunflowers out of paper, and then we just wrapped a cardboard box. We start collecting everyone's cardboard boxes now, and we will break them down and keep them piled up in a room until VBS. We go through hundreds and hundreds of cardboard boxes that don't cost us a dime, right? And so you're going to see throughout as I go through this presentation just different ways that we use empty cardboard boxes to build things, and they build some pretty great stuff that goes along with this theme. One of the cool things we put in this hallway was our livery. This was just some black tablecloth and some plastic tablecloth material and some duct tape that's hanging from the ceiling. This is a kind of a bump-in coat rack area of our church. We've covered up the coat racks there and just hung this down with just those horse heads that we printed out as well. Some simple ideas here with the oranges, some clip art animals down the long hallway, just filling in some color. We have some tumbleweed going down there and lots of chickens. This hallway had a lot of stables and stuff going through it, so it had a lot of the horses, and so you see here we painted some cardboard to texture to make it look like fence posts. You also see that what we often do is use parts of our building. We just painted this hallway, so we won't have this anymore, but we had brown columns as you walk down our hallway. So our hallways were kind of tan, our columns were brown as an accent color, and those became trees every year. I don't know what my team's gonna do this year because those are no longer the color that they were, but they would just take some roll paper and make it look like branches or vines, and every year those kind of look like a different style of tree depending upon where we were going that year. So utilizing some of your features and everything that you already have in your building to your advantage is a great idea. So we have a courtyard in the middle of our church that we always seem to decorate. This is the simple side. When we get to the setting of the sun hallway, you'll see another fun thing. But one of my favorite things that we did in this hallway was we put up some barbed wire, all right? And that's just string. So it didn't hurt anybody, but it was fun to just make this just string, tie some knots, cut the loops out of the knots, and now you have harmless barbed wire fences going down your hallways, and just some lumber that we have collected over the years to put those up and together. And so just that hallway was nice and bright. It was where our youngest children have their classrooms and walk. So it was more geared towards our youngest kids, just with a lot of the clip art that is available to utilize through the digital resources. Then we head to our setting of the sun hallway. And right at the beginning of that hallway, so this one we put some light covers over our fluorescent lights to kind of darken it down, but not make it super dark. So just looked like the sun was coming down. This is cardboard boxes that are taped together, is all this is. There's some really large cardboard boxes in that mix. And so there's about 3 boxes up the side. There's 2 very long boxes across the top, and then I think 4 down the other side. They're all just taped together, wrapped in brown roll paper, and that's all connected together there. We crinkle it up real good, and we pre-made this in 3 sections in the weeks leading up to it, and then we just put up the 2 columns, attached the cross piece across the top, and we did this in a couple of areas entering down the hallways. And so in our setting of the sun hallway, here's another one of those bump ins that has a coat rack. So that became a waterfall. I feel like I'm repeating myself. It's all cardboard boxes, all right? And a lot of accents with the cactuses that were created, printing off some other animals. And then we made this year something that we haven't really done a lot of before, but we took a lot of the 2-inch foam that you can get at the hardware store that comes in the big 4x8 sheets, and we cut a lot of rocks. You see that kind of at the bottom of this waterfall. We utilized that in a lot of different places throughout this hallway. And so as it became the bottom of the waterfall, it's in a couple other places that you'll see. And those are pieces that we boxed up at the end of the year, and we're gonna use those a lot in the future as well. So they were painted by a couple of our volunteers to look like rocks. And so a neat thing there. We incorporated a train down this hallway. We found a railroad track runner, table runner, and we actually cut it in half because we only needed half of it and made it twice as long, and that's what you get the railroad tracks there on the floor. And then somebody made this train out of just roll paper and cardboard, and guess what's coming? More cardboard boxes. So this is what I really loved about this. We were able to make a lot of buttes for this hallway, utilizing the setting of the sun colors, but we had a lot of purples here, a lot of blues as well. And so we would build these buttes, and whether they were brown or dark brown or blue or purple, and then adding a lot of these great little accents and everything. You'll see we made some down here that had more paper and another bright and fun colors. And so I was recently, just a couple of weeks ago, in Phoenix, Arizona. I've never really been out west before, and I was there in the sunset, and I'm like, that looks just like VBS. It was amazing. I'm like, I didn't realize it would really look like that, but it does. And so, very pretty. Sunsets in the middle of Ohio just don't look as good as they do in some places, I guess. But another fun thing that we did in that courtyard area that I showed you on the other side, we've made this sort of look like a stained glass window before, but we've never done it this way. It's just different shades of roll paper that are just draped across the windows. And I thought this was a neat way, if you have windows or a large glass area, just a quick way to run some different pieces of roll paper across your window area to make that really cool scene, the silhouettes of the cactus and everything there. That's just simply cardboard that was painted black. That's the type of painting that I'm allowed to do at the church. One color, no skill required and everything. And so what a neat way to utilize that space in our building. Again, incorporating these animal pals, popping them on top of things. You'll see you can kind of see in certain places, we used a lot of paper flowers. One of the things that we did leading up to VBS was we had a craft table set up on Sunday morning, and when kids came to class, if they got there a little early, one of the things that they could do was make paper flowers for the VBS decorations. And so a lot of our girls would come in and make these paper flowers, and we just threw them in a box and threw them in a box and threw them in a box, and then they got to see their decorations added to these buttes and these pillars that we made as they went around VBS later in the week. You know, a couple years ago, we did the 7 C's of history, and we actually made this tomb for Jesus' resurrection, and now it has become our Bear's Cave. This is made out of foam, the 1-inch or 2-inch foam again, and it's been painted, and so we were able to make a bear's den out of reutilizing that. You see those rocks that I talked about earlier that we have really stored up and are looking forward to using again. So that's our setting of the sun hallway and a couple of different things. Again, using those, we still use those pillars, but instead of the birds in the one hallway, we incorporated some owls in this hallway as well. Hopefully that gives you some fun inspiration and different color schemes that you can use. And then let's talk about we did a mine shaft. This is our glow-in-the-dark hallway. This is our older kids where their craft and science rooms are. And so we, of course, used a little bit of dynamite in there. So save your paper towel rolls, and you can just print that on your printer and wrap it around those paper towel tubes and put a bunch of those together. This is the entrance looking into it. We did another one of those arches as you're going in. And then we used some glow paint to make this really stand out. Let me kind of show you kind of a look down the hallway. And so we had some glow-in-the-dark tape, and somebody meticulously laid those tracks down, and one of those tracks leads you to the craft room. One of those tracks leads you to the science room. This is something we did new this year. We found, if you look at the ceiling, you'll see the lighting, the strip lighting that's up there. That's LED strip lighting tape. That's a sticky back. We put that up in June, and it's still there. Don't tell anyone. But you don't even realize it's there because it just goes on the ceiling grid. It's about the same width as that. We just unplugged it. And come June, what are we going to do? We're going to plug it back in, and we're going to be ready. We just saved some time, didn't we? This is kind of a back hallway that doesn't get a lot of traffic in our church anyway. You know what's really neat about this? Our craft ladies, if you went to the craft breakout, that's Krista and Krista who have done a lot of the craft sessions. This is their little project every year. So after they've prepared crafts for 800, 900 children, then they get into decorating. So they're pretty amazing. They use those same rocks. They used a couple different types of rocks along the one hallway that you see, a lot of different Christmas lights just kind of strewn around, paper chains. I would say test everything that you have under a black light to just make sure that it will glow. There's paint that you can find that luminesces really well under black light. Certain paper, certain colors of copier paper will, certain colors won't. And so check some of those things out. Painted some signs to just have some fun there. The rocks that they use down there, there's a couple different, some of those are just balled up paper, butcher paper, and then they just put some glow-in-the-dark paint on it. And but some of them are the foam blocks that they use, some of the fluorescent paint as well. This was sort of fun. You know, you got to have the big plunger to set off the dynamite and everything as we're going down. This was the older kids look forward to what's it going to be this year. What are we going to do? What is it going to look like? And we of course added a little bit of treasure in our mine shaft that they were going for. And they just did an amazing job. And so we'll just zoom in on a couple of these things, just sprinkling the dynamite and everything around. Here's a close-up of the rocks that are just basically balled up paper and with a little bit of paint on them. All right, now, so those were our 3 hallways. And now let's move on to sort of where our foyers or lobbies in our church are, because we have a couple of different ways that we create welcome areas. We have kind of a back foyer at the far end of our church. It's not where people walk in to come to VBS, but it gets heavy traffic during VBS. So we like to set up a little area there for groups and for kids to take photos. We do a couple of different things down there. It's a pretty wide area, so we're able to build things a little bit more 3D. And so we built a cistern or a water tower, an old style water tower, just cardboard wrapped in a circle and a little pipe coming out of it on some 1x3 that one of our guys nailed together and everything, and then utilized some of the clip art to, again, print off the side. This large banner that you see there against the wall was something we found online. We used it for something else, but then we incorporated it here into our photo zone, so an entire small group or entire class of kids could get together and get their photo taken. Built a windmill as well out of some 2x3s, just painted those gray. But I want to, if you look next to the windmill and then in front of the Omega outpost as well, we made some grapevine tumbleweeds. All right, so you go to the Hobby Lobby and they have those grapevine wreaths. So one of our ladies, it took her a little while to figure it out, but how do you turn one of those into a tumbleweed? She found you soak it. And so she soaked them in water and then was able to take them out of the wreath shape and make them more into a ball shape and then let them dry again. And they stayed that way. So we took some grapevine wreaths and were able to create some tumbleweed. We left them as is and the color that they were. You could obviously paint those if you wanted them a different color, maybe spray paint them. But those were a really neat thing. But soaking them in water for a while allows you to then move them around without breaking everything. Made some. These are lunch sacks made into rocks, and then a fire there with whatever that crafty stuff is called. All right, we made some of these 3D horses out of cardboard. And they have wood supports, but so just a cardboard body that was painted on both sides. You can kind of see a different angle of them here. And their legs were going one direction, and then their bodies were going another. And so those were really neat. And so kids could stand in front of that area as well and get their photos taken. And look, more cardboard boxes covered in paper. All right. So that's our one kind of like group photo zone. The other is the area where you walk in. This is our main entrance, our main lobby at our church. So we want people to walk in the door, and as soon as they walk in the door, they're like, wow, all right. And so we created some fun things here, the welcome cowpokes. This is our set designer, which we'll be getting onto our main set here in a few minutes. But she creates this area for us, and you can see some of her team's skills with their painting and everything. And so this is another great photo opportunity for folks. But this is, we build this all on flats. You'll hear me say this phrase a lot. Flats are just a lot of different ways to build them, but as you look behind these different scene setters and everything, it's very similar construction to that. We always build a wall. So I've got a wooden wall behind there. It's made out of 4x8 pieces of luan with a frame around it, and then we attach the cardboard to the front of it. And our artist loves cows. We've been incorporating a cow in one way or another to every VBS theme. Doesn't matter if the cow belongs there or not, the cow's gonna be there. And the cow always has an outfit that makes him fit into the theme. And so this cow got to become a longhorned cattle this year. What I really loved was how we did our memory verse artwork. So this is a picture as you're walking in the door. The very first thing that you're going to see is our memory verse. So you can get these on scene setters. You might have seen those. I saw them downstairs. They have scene setters with the verse on it. We painted these on both sides so that no matter which direction you were walking from, the memory verse was only on one side. It was kind of decorative on the other side, a little simpler because you couldn't see it very well, but we wanted it to look nice no matter which direction you were walking from. But that was one of my favorite things that we did this year with just incorporating the Bible verse to be the first thing that you saw when you walked in the door. And a lot of people really enjoyed that. As you also walk across our lobby, we have kind of the entrance to our auditorium, our worship center. And this is also where we have our offering station. So this was one of Miss Barb's curb finds, these two railroad crossing things. She was driving, and somebody was putting these out at the curb, and she stopped by and got, anybody got some curb VBS decorations out there? Yeah, and it was really neat because she saw them, she's like, I gotta go get those right now, right? And so when she goes to get them, the gentleman who was saying this, like, Grandpa made these for my boys, but they've outgrown them, and I feel really bad, but now they're going to a great place. And so they became our offering stations. We got some of these plastic planter buckets from the hardware store, and that's where kids, we put that right as they're entering the auditorium. So when our kids enter for VBS in the morning, they go straight to their assigned team that's in their assigned row in the auditorium. So they walk right past this, they drop their money in as they're entering, and then go in to get checked in for the morning. So we wanted it to be easy for them to drop that off right away. So this was what you see, kind of the main entrance, the main door to our worship center. And so that wheel did spin most of the week. So we bought, there's two different moving features that we use the same stuff for. We bought a little like a plastic turntable motor. I don't have a good picture of the backside of this, but when I show you the windmill on our main stage, they were built the same way. But that's just cardboard on a little motor that spins around. It was just set up a little bit in front of the other cardboard that you see there. And so just a great opportunity. We have an amazing team of painters that hand paint all of these animals and cactus, and everything you see here was hand painted by our team over a 3-week period. We tarp off our gymnasium which is our children's ministry facility. So for 3 weeks, we invade the youth facility and borrow their room for Sunday mornings, and we paint for 3 straight weeks. All of this, it's a paint by number system. Every piece is drawn out. We use overhead projectors to project. They would draw them on transparencies. We project them on overheads. We sketch them with Sharpies, and then people come in and do a paint by number system. Or one of our good artists or our main artist might paint one and then give it as an example, and people will come in and paint multiple chickens and several horses and everything like that. And so it's just some fun ideas, kind of zooming in on some of these other things that we have here. All right. Now let's look at our teaching classroom. And so we have 3 teaching rooms at our VBS, one for pre-primary, one for primary, and one for juniors. Our juniors use the main auditorium, so they just get the big set. And we create these kind of smaller sets that are very similar to the scene setter sets that you'll see here. And so for the classroom, of course, we did this back in June before the scene setters were available, and so this is a look at what we created. Of course, it's the teaching room. The place that we're going to is the High Point Chapel. So we see it. You can see it down here on the floor. The chapel that was painted. It was elevated, kind of up on a hill, because we're going to the high point of our week. The high point of our day is when we're going to open up our Bibles and see what God has to teach us. And so, as you see on that back wall there, that's just an 8-foot tall, 16-foot wide wall that has cardboard paintings on it. And then on top of that, I made just some very rough and rugged frames that have the orange striped cardboard on it. And then I added some chicken wire. It's hard to see that in the photo, but there's chicken wire in front of the cardboard. And so it added just a fun little texture element to it as well. Here's the chapel. So we talked to the kids about going to that high point every day. We have a lot of rocks and animals around there, we just kind of pick one of them, and our puppet will pop out from behind the rocks. We have these little, I call them color mountains. They're just a simple, multicolored little hill that we have going on there. And of course, the kids love the animals, so we paint those up. But here was one of my absolute favorite things that I got to build: a giant chicken coop we found at a grocery store these giant plush chickens, and we had to build a coop just so we could have those chickens. So that was just a bunch of 1x3 pieces of wood that we slapped together real quick and put some chicken wire on them to make it look like a coop, and then, stuck the chickens in there. And they were really wobbly, and if you breathed on them too heavily, they'd probably fall over, but they lasted the week. And we bring them a lot of different stuffed animals and sprinkle around the stage. And then, of course, some of these buttes and everything. So you kind of see it in action here with our teaching team standing in front of everything there as well. One of the things we really love is our exploration stations. This is the teaching active learning centers for the pre-primary and toddler classrooms. We don't do a ton of maybe the decorations that you see in the hallway, but we do want to make it a fun play area for them. And so we borrowed some tables and chairs from our congregation, kind of put out our list of some things that we could want. Some people cut some felt into some vests and cowboy hats for our dress-up zones. We had borrowed or found cowboy boots at all the thrift stores around so that they could have that as well. We made these stick horses out of a dowel rod and some construction paper and rope horses there, and so the kids were able to pick those up and ride them around in their playtime as well. And so, we had a guy that made a stove out of cardboard boxes and tubes and just made it black. So we had a area there for them to kind of do their active play and stuff. But I think the biggest hit that was in that room was our cardboard box train. I think it's written that you can make a cardboard box train coloring room. And I thought this was neat. If we zoom in here on those little smokestack stuff, that's a soda bottle and a coffee can, right? And just turned upside down. And so some great things that you can use. And of course, the kids just loved going inside that train every day and having their active playtime in their exploration stations. So I would really encourage you to have that for your younger kids. They really, really like that. So let's jump over to our main set in our worship center. And so here you'll see that we built the town of Wonder Junction this year. A lot of really neat elements, but as exciting and crazy as this looks, this was the fastest set we've ever built in my 25 years of doing it. We did it in 2 days, and that's crazy. But buildings are really easy to build because they're square and flat and everything like that. And so we had picked a few of the buildings. You see that the large scene setter over there, that's awesome. I also wouldn't mind one of these LED walls, so I could just build it in like 3 seconds. But we love to incorporate different things with our drama into our set. And so as we kind of just begin to zoom in on a few things here, we'll start with what we always do, some fun, cute little guys down front. This is basically the center aisle down on the floor. Some cactuses and rocks and animals. We use these rocks over and over and over again. You'll see some repeated things. Once you're good at doing certain things, just find different ways to keep incorporating them into your VBS every year, whether you make some tufts of grass or some rocks or anything like that. Those can be used over and over again. Even some of our animals we've kept over the years that people have put hard work into, and every once in a while we're able to bring some of them back. And so we make these little, they're only about 2 feet high, maybe 3-4 feet wide, and we just kind of place them along the front of our stage, either on the floor or on the stage itself. It adds some dimension to what we have going on. And then we're going to kind of go over to the one side of our stage where we began on the outside of our stage with a bit of a stable. So this is on the outside of the one screen. It's just a flat wall going up in the air with cardboard on top of it. Then as we are kind of working our way from right to left, next to the stable, we had a little building that was mining supplies. We didn't use that for anything. It was decorative only, but if you look next to that, we had our jail, and that was utilized in our drama. You can enter the jail from the side there next to the school building. I wanted to talk to the people who decided to put the jail right next to the school. I'm like, somebody didn't go to security training. But I was like, we did not plan this properly. But anyway, it was a lot of fun to have our jail there. We were able to take people into that jail. It was, again, some flat walls that were built. It was about 3 feet deep in there, is about 8 feet wide, and there's some scenes in the drama that you can utilize that, or you can just have fun in your opening and closing sessions with that. Put your senior pastor in the prison, in jail, or whatever you need to do to have a little bit of fun with the kids and that going on as well. Of course, next to the jail, as we talked about, we have our school. We built a bank next to that. Our kind of centerpiece, our focal point, was the Cornerstone Hotel here in the middle. And so that's about 20 feet tall at its highest point there in the middle. It's 16 feet tall to the top of the blue there where you see that, and it is 12 feet wide there. And then we bumped it out with the Sweet Sadie's Cafe. And so I will show you the backside of this in a little bit. And if you've seen any of our sets before, you'll see that the backsides all tend to look the same. And just moving on over, we did a train depot. And then probably the thing that two ladies spent about 2 weeks painting this one right here. They were so dedicated to painting the exact train. This is 6 feet tall. It's about 12 feet long. And two of our volunteers just dedicated so much time to hand painting this train, took it straight from the artwork that we had, and did such an amazing job. Love to incorporate as many animals as we can, and of course as much color and vibrancy and everything like that. And it's just neat every year to see the look on the kids' faces when they walk in and they're just like, wow. And it's really helped us to let the community know how much we value their kids, and when we do things with excellence, that they want to bring their families to it. So let's look at the backside of our construction. As you've seen, here is the windmill that's at the top of of everything there. It was really simple. That's just a really long 2x4, and we attached the windmill. We put a motor. It's a little turntable motor that we found for just a few dollars. It wasn't too expensive online. It had a remote control, so we could just stand below it, turn it on, turn it off, change the direction, whatever we wanted to do with that. We built it all on the floor by attaching the motor to the 2x4. Then we attached dowel rods to the motor and then just duct taped them to the piece of cardboard that was painted. And then we just took a couple of guys, stood it up, and screwed it to the back of our wall there, and we had a working windmill in just a few minutes. And you'll see that this is the backside of the train depot that it's attached to. So it's just a bunch of these flats that we use every single year. Some of these flats are older than the kids who attend VBS because we've used them so much. So here's sort of another angle of that. Here's the backside of the hotel, and you can see that it goes up to about 20 feet tall there in the middle, 16 feet on the sides there. Those papers are, I think, a script from about 4 VBSs ago, taped to the top of that, because our drama team's always taping their scripts to the back of the stage. We don't always take them down. And then there's certain things that when we go up really, really high, we don't even use wooden structure or anything. We have these large pipe and drape adjustable height poles. And so we were able to paint some mountain scenes, and I just zip tie those to the poles, and then I'm able to raise the pole up to about 20, 22 feet in the air. And then they're the very high backdrop of our scene. So we have layers to our set as we go as well. So that's kind of our main set. I've got just a couple more minutes to show you a couple other things that we did. You know, I love the different banners that they have, our craft rooms and our science rooms. We keep simple with the banners that they have. They have snack banners available as well. We actually this year, because we had Sadie's Sweet Shop on the stage, we created a second Sadie's Sweet Shop, which became our snack area that we serve snacks out of, and it's our concession stand area at night. You know, we don't have enough room in our building to store all the stuff away that gets in the way during VBS, so we incorporated it into our decorations. These are our cafe tables, and we wrapped them in cardboard to turn them into barrels because we didn't have enough storage to put them away, so we just made them into some decorations. And so here is the window, just using some play food and some baskets and everything like that. So that and we made fake taffy out of packing peanuts that we wrapped in wax paper. So it was very disappointing when you got up to it and opened it, and it was a packing peanut and not real. When we had some meetings, one of our guys took the old paneling from our Jungle Journey boats that we made and took them home, and he built these churches as centerpieces for our meeting tables. So these were about a foot and a half long. They were probably about 24 inches tall. He put lights inside them, that little puck lights that you could turn on. And so the meetings had these as our centerpieces. And of course, we were talking about our High Point Chapel and the high point of our week. And so as you go to build, this is sort of a mock-up of what a stage flat looks like and a stage jack. These are the tools of the trade. And so I always say we're not allowed to attach anything to our walls at the church, but I can build a wall in front of that wall, and then I can attach anything I want to it, any way I want to it, and then I'm going to put that wall in the garage for a year and bring it back out again next year. And so by building these 4x8 frames and these legs, we have just a stash of these. We paint them black so that if there's a little gap in the cardboard or whatever you're using to decorate, that it just kind of disappears and everything. Here's the backside of some of our classroom decorations. It's just as simple as we screw cardboard right to these little brackets. Sometimes you need a little bit more structure, depending on what it is. Sometimes you might be able to get away with a little bit less and everything. And you can see that we can take these walls up to about 20 feet high there. They are sturdy, they are strong. We do build stuff off the back of them and off the front of them so that they don't fall over most of the time. And they've never fallen over until I'm taking them down and I do something I shouldn't. But yeah, they are safe and they are secure, but we do have a little system of how we do things. Just a few tools that we love to use every year. My big saying is we use screws, we don't use staples. When we build our sets, we don't use nails either because those don't come out, nails and staples don't come out quickly. But you can just push your button on your drill and you can take every single screw out and they come out a lot faster. A lot of people always ask, what are the different ways that you use to cut cardboard? We have tried every single way in the world to cut cardboard. I bought some jigsaw blades that are designed for cutting cardboard. That's good if you've got somebody who you trust with a blade going about 400 miles an hour. If you got somebody who will run a power tool for you all the time, but it can be a little bit dangerous. We use cardboard cutting knives. We've bought electric cutters. No matter how you figure out how to cut it, it's always going to be a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's well worth it. When we attach our paper, our printed paper to the cardboard, I have found that the double-sided carpet tape is the best thing for doing that. For us, I don't like spray adhesive. It gets on everything and goes everywhere. And another tip that I love to give everyone is there's two different types of tape that we love to use in our building. It's painter's tape and it's marvelous tape. This will not mark your walls or anything. And so what we do is if we're going to put something on a wall, we put painter's tape or marvelous tape on first because we know that is going to come off cleanly later. And then you can tape to that tape, okay? And so just cover your whole church in painter's tape, put up your set, and then peel it back off when you're done. And so you can, just remember, you can put painter's tape on the wall and then use regular tape to tape to that tape. All right, well, that's all the time that I have. I hope that you feel a little bit inspired. If you go to the youtube.com Answers VBS, I made around 13 or 15 videos walking around each part of our church so you can see it in video form as well, and we get to see the front, the back, and all that other stuff. And so go and be excellent and do everything we do for Jesus with excellence. Thank you so much.